Ryan M. Smith. Ryan is a graduate student from Louisville. He was elected as UK's 47th student body president in April of 2009. He is completing his second one-year term. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science from UK in May of 2010. As a junior, Ryan spent a semester living in Washington, D.C., serving as a United States Senate page for Senator Mitch McConnell. From 2005 to 2008, Ryan traveled to 5 continents and across the United States on behalf of the White House advance team and then President George W. Bush. Smith served as president of the Sigma Chi fraternity from 2008 to 2009 and has been a part of Dance Blue, the University Leadership Summit, Kentucky Leadership Academy, and the SEEDS program. Please welcome your student body president, Ryan Smith.
Thank you. Well, I thought we might have a hard time getting questions, but I don't think that's going to be the case today. I want to thank you all for coming today to meet the preferred candidate for the position of the 12th president of the University of Kentucky. Dr. Eli Capilouto, we welcome you here today. We appreciate you taking the time to be at this forum and spend time on campus throughout this day. We know that you spent some time here last week in a little secret trip, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to hearing about that as well. You know, this is a historic day, and we appreciate you all taking the time away from studying for finals to be here to meet Eli and to provide us with feedback and questions. Today, I will be serving as a moderator, and Taylor Cox, as well as Kelsey Hayes over here, will be collecting all the questions and the feedback to share with the Board of Trustees. For those of you all who don't know, Taylor has been a part of this process. Where is Taylor? There's Taylor. Taylor's been a part of this process since late last year and served as the undergraduate representative to the selection committee, and I want to take this time to thank him for all of his service to the selection process. So thanks, Taylor. Today's format is really pretty straightforward. You all in the audience are invited to step up to the microphones. We have 2 on each aisle, and ask questions at any point. Questions can also be submitted on a note card. I think some of you all have them. If you don't, Kelsey has some over here. And if you need a note card, just raise your hand and we'll have someone bring one to you. These volunteers will also collect cards, bring them up here. And as well as the folks watching on Wildcat Student TV, we have a live stream. You can submit questions to ukstudentgovernment@gmail.com, ukstudentgovernment@gmail.com, and we will alternate questions, taking one from the audience and then one from online and until around 15 minutes before. And I think that's about it. But before we get started, I'd like to first invite Dr. Capilouto up to share a few quick comments and opening remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Eli Capilouto.
Right. May I go down here?
You're welcome to go
Excuse
down
me.
Sure.
Excuse me, I prefer to be down here. I feel like I'm closer to you and part of your community than when I'm standing up there. I am honored and privileged to be invited as the preferred candidate to serve as the 12th president for the University of Kentucky. I recognize that yours is a precious legacy and that my responsibilities, should I be formally extended this job, are such to preserve something that is deep in the heart and soul of all of you and many more who came before you and countless others who identify with this university, yet for whatever reason they weren't able to attend school here. It is an immense responsibility. My days as a dean and as a provost have been largely uplifting. Every once in a while, though, you have dark days and hard work and things don't go as well as you'd like. And on those days, I go look for some students because it reminds me of why I've done this for a lifetime and why I want to continue doing this at a wonderful institution. Our students at the University of Alabama at Birmingham stretch from the undergraduate level to professional school, much like the student body here. I think that that offers unique growth opportunities for students in oh so many ways. I know that recently you had your research day for undergraduate students. We had that in Birmingham last week. We had 170 students who collaborated with professors from across the university as a flagship university that represents the many disciplines that you can proudly point to. I know those same rich opportunities are for you here. I did sneak on campus last week. I've lived in Birmingham, Alabama for 35 years, with the exception of 4 years that I spent in Boston in graduate school. My wife and I, as this opportunity came closer to something that we may have to consider as a reality, had read a lot about your campus and city. Most everything I had read, I'd gotten through the internet. I know you all understand that. And I'd gotten lots of printed material, but I wanted to see firsthand what it was like here. So we flew in on a Tuesday afternoon to Louisville, drove over to the campus, and we walked around here for about 6 hours. And I see some people out here that have heard the story. I'm sorry you're going to have to hear it again, but it's special to me, and it's why I'm here today. We parked in the Student Center parking lot. We came through this building. We went to the Visitor Center, and then I saw the sign there that said Office of the President, Office of the Provost. I figured I wasn't going to walk in there. But my wife went in and met a delightful student who was participating in a global honors program. Her name was Mary Ellen, I believe. I don't know if she's here today. She so impressed my wife, I couldn't go in to see her, but my wife came out and told me a wonderful story about this student from Louisville and what she was planning on doing with her life and what her education here was going to make possible. I then walked through the campus, through the arts, performing arts area, theater and all. I then went to the Young Library. And that was probably the most powerful moment of the afternoon. Now, you students may take that library for granted, but I bet there are not too many libraries like that across the country. And it makes a profound statement when a university makes that a priority. And it's also made possible through the generosity of people who believe in this campus and what it's doing. And we wandered through every floor there. Occasionally we'd sit down and listen and eavesdrop on what was going on. There were students on the first floor who were pulling whiteboards together and working in teams, and it's just the kind of collaborative learning that you know has got to be important in the 21st century. And so that was an extremely powerful hour for us. We stopped by the Stuckert Center before it closed. I was rushing to get to all these places before they closed. And I met a delightful staff member there, Clara, I don't remember her last name. But I asked her what she did, and with great enthusiasm and pride, she told me about the internship she'd arranged, that Disney had been in town the last week or so, and they had a great track record of placing students there. And that was powerful. And it's about at that moment I realized this is the real thing. And this is worth uprooting yourself at this point in my life. And it's because I believe in you and what you're doing. I often repeat, and I think I've said it today at the forum for faculty and the one for staff. My motto is students first. I had a university president tell me long ago, no students, no faculty, no university. So it has to start with you. You're also our hope for the future, and there is going to be a world for you that is quite different than what I encountered. I served on a local school board for 8 years, And I learned a heck of a lot about education from those teachers in those elementary, junior, and high schools. And I'll never forget when, it's just last summer, a group of teachers had come together to rethink of how they were going to reach the next generation of students. And this is a fine school system. They use the most modern approaches to engaged learning, and they're incorporated in every course and all. And this teacher told me that she'd done what she'd always did and posed a question where students were going to have to use critical thinking. They were going to have to make a presentation at the end. They were going to have to do their own research, but she gave them some materials that she thought would be helpful and all. And the close of this assignment was there were going to be PowerPoint presentations. And she said, Eli, those students came to me and said, we can't do another PowerPoint presentation. We get killed by PowerPoint presentations. We can kill people with them. We got a new way we want to reach people. And she said, and I have to tell you, my daughter went to the school system. I went to her first PowerPoint presentation when she's in the second grade. She graduated from college last year. So I felt like I was listening to her too. But the teacher told me, she said, my students came together and said rather than a PowerPoint presentation, they had found something on the web. It may have been Globster or something like that, but it was going to set up an interactive poster session so that students would not just listen to a presentation, but they were going to be part of what they had learned and discovered. She said at that moment, and they also said, we appreciate those materials you gave to me, but we did our own research, and we went out on the web, and we think we have richer information and so forth. And that teacher said to me, for the first time I realized, things had really, really changed. So they had gotten a group of teachers together for the summer, and they were trying to read about new pedagogy and understand the next generation of students. She told me they had read books by Daniel Pink, and for the first time she realized when he says, students of your age are going to be living hyphenated lives, that you're going to be mixing together all kinds of skills and disciplines for jobs we have not even imagined. She told me to watch a PBS program. She had some excerpts for me. I think the PBS program is called Design Works or something like that. I can't entirely remember the name, but she showed me a few clips. And one was a person that her job was package design. And she designed packages for all kinds of products. But she said, this is what I had to know to be successful at this job. She said, I'm certainly an engineer, and I had to understand the mechanics of this. I almost had to be an anthropologist and a sales marketing expert to see who would, embrace this product because of the design of the bottle. I had to be an environmental chemist because I had to figure out in this green environment that I wasn't going to create something that was going to harm our planet. And I had to work in a team to do all these kinds of things. And she said, I never knew this kind of job existed. And so I watched examples and examples after that, and it reminds me of what we owe your generation of students and what we're going to have to do to make sure you live a life of meaning and purpose. So that's why I am here. I'm honored to be here, and I want to say one other thing. My first direct communication with anybody at the university was with the search committee, which is made up of terrific students. They represented you well. They asked hard questions. Faculty, who also did the same. Staff, and then something that's very precious to this university. And you may not understand what they do all the time, but the members of the Board of Trustees who have the deepest concern for your welfare, and that came through in my interviews as well. That is something precious to have that not every university has. So you have lots of people in your corner, and I hope you're grateful and proud. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Ron, I turn it over to you.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll try to get through them all. There are several that are similar in topics, so we'll try to ask one relating to every topic. First one, if you all want to write your name on it, we can address you specifically. While the main concern of the faculty may be to have a president who comes from academia, the main concern of the average student from Kentucky is a rising tuition costs. With that in mind, could you please explain how committed you are with reducing inefficiencies within the university to control rising tuition costs and still have money for campus improvements? Please prioritize your goals as president.
Okay.
That's the first part.
I think I'm about to ask for a 10-year commitment to get all that done. I'll only tell you my experiences. In Alabama, we had a dramatic uptick in our state support. Our support for K through 12 and higher education is built on growth taxes, which are income tax and sales tax. And with the crash in the economy, you can imagine we took a hit. So we went from $350 million to $250 million state dollars, about that, $100 million reduction in about 2.5 years. And that is crippling, as you can imagine, or it could be, but it didn't stop us. And yes, we had some dramatic tuition increases over that time. We did all that reluctantly. As our chancellor said, this economy and the needs of the state have in some ways turned us into a reluctant tax man. To make sure our students had the quality education that they needed, we had to increase tuition. And we did that after serious study and concern. The other thing that we did is certainly look at our cost. One example that I'll give you is during the past year I reorganized the office of the provost that serves our students. I reduced the number of administrators, consolidated those. Hopefully we have a more streamlined service. We use technology in innovative ways to cut down on those kinds of inefficiencies. And we hopefully, and I know we have, reduced costs, which means less pressure on us to raise tuition. So I think it is important to look at the way you provide services and look for ways you can streamline and save dollars.
Okay. At this point, if anybody has a question they'd like to come to the mic, you all can. Otherwise, we'll just continue asking these questions. Okay. Oh, okay, right here.
Thank you.
As you're probably aware already, you're coming to a university that is located in a state that relies heavily on the combustion of coal to produce its energy. The people in eastern Kentucky and throughout Appalachia have suffered through a history of oppression from the coal industry, such as sicknesses from inhalation from toxic materials to poisoning thousands of miles of their streams. The University of Kentucky is one of the many schools in the state that have a coal-fired power plant on its campus. There's a strong number of students who want the university to stop supporting such a destructive industry. In recent years, schools such as Ball State and Bucknell have moved away from on-campus coal-fired power plants. What are your thoughts on coal, and how important is it to move towards renewable energy source?
Sure. Well, I think in general, renewable energy sources are going to be important to the future of this country, and I think we're going to have to figure out the best ways to get there. There are many costs associated with that, and they set up potential trade-offs in the things that we want to do. And those are policy decisions that I think can be best informed by a research university. You've got constrained resources. You have choices that have consequences that affect the environment, there are costs associated with those, and that's what a university should be discussing. I feel like the big problems of our future, energy, water, health disparities and all, can be best informed by what goes on at a research university. I do not know enough about the energy sources and what is done locally here on campus to provide energy to answer specific questions about exactly what the campus should do. But I think it is incumbent upon all of us to recognize the footprint we leave on the environment as we do the work we want to do.
So where is that going to be on your priority list as president, if you become president? I mean, is that something that you consider to be extremely important, or is that something that you're more in, it's more important to think economically? Because I think that a lot of the students agree that, if we don't make changes, rapid changes right now, to move towards a clean energy future, money, you can't eat money, and I feel like, I want to hear what exactly is, on your priority list. Is that on the top of your priority list?
Okay, so do me a favor.
Okay.
Name me what you think should be the 5 priorities for the new president of the University of Kentucky.
Well,
Energy is one.
do what?
Energy is certainly one.
Obviously, education policy. That's another thing I was going to actually ask you about. I've done a little bit of internet research.
Uh-oh.
And I've yet to find a specific education policy that you, kind of use as your, the way that you approach, dealing with students. And so I was curious as to wonder if you had to put it in, 3 or 4 sentences, what you could say your education policy is.
My education policy is to provide a quality education that is going to prepare a student for some careers and lives I don't know about, but also to have a student fulfilled in terms of meaning and purpose in life. And I try to do that in lots of ways, influencing what our faculty can do in the classroom. I do that through my service on the school board. And the most recent thing I've been involved in, which I'm quite proud of, is something called A+ College Ready, where we're going into the most challenging school districts in Alabama with an effective program to increase the number of students who take and pass AP courses. And we're doing that, adding year by year. It was funded by a grant from the ExxonMobil Corporation. And those are the kinds of things I get engaged in, because you got to do it. You got to do it at every level. You got to turn lots of levers to move a stubborn problem.
You still didn't put where.
Well, you hadn't either. You gave me education and energy. Come on,
The forum is.
You could be here one day.
I understand that, but the
Okay.
forum is, to understand what you,
Let's understand, but
where your priorities lie. So, and we would like to hear that. So.
There are a multitude of priorities here.
Okay. But where's that environmental issues?
I am sure I'll have the opportunity to address that, but to rank what are the top 5 priorities for me today without having the benefit of these kinds of exchanges, I think would be naive.
Well, I mean, you can kind of base that on your history as provost of the UAB.
Sure. So we have a different energy source, and we're building our own power plant on campus. It's going to be fueled by natural gas, and that worked for us. We used to have a coal-powered plant in the city of Birmingham that Alabama Power provided the energy for our campus. They got out of that business and told us we're building our own facility, and this will be cleaner energy.
I'm going to do my best.
That cost us, that's an $80 million project for our campus.
Thank you.
I'm going to do my best not to interject too much, but I want to try to get on to some other topics as well.
Okay. Thanks for your question.
The Greek system at UAB is significantly smaller than that of UK. What do you believe is the importance of the Greek community here, and how do you plan on sustaining one of the most influential groups at this university?
Sure. I did my undergraduate studying and degree at the University of Alabama, and I was a participant in the Greek system, and I was president of my fraternity, and I understand what kind of community building that can provide. I also know that it is important for a university to provide other community building opportunities for students, and you got to look for other ways to do that. I know that from what I heard earlier today, I'm not sure where I heard it, that folks who participate in the Greek system go on to be some of the strongest supporters of this university. I've seen that at other universities as well. So recognizing that as a powerful force, you want that to be a healthy, supported environment. But I want to return to say that you got to look for other ways to build community and that strong affinity for by those students who don't have the opportunity or can't have the time or for whatever reasons don't participate in Greek life.
Okay, we've got a bunch of questions built up here, so we're going to keep going in rapid fire mode here.
I'll try to speak more quickly. I'm in my Alabama mode, I think, which is it's a little slower, but I promise you I think faster than I'm speaking.
All right, as you might know, we have $1.5 billion in maintenance needs on buildings, including dorms and the student center. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this. What priority do you think should be given to the infrastructure improvements, particularly dorms and student-focused buildings?
Well, when I walked through your campus last week, I'll confess that, without having the benefit of study and data and so forth, my reaction was, you need some enhanced housing on campus. To be honest with you, that's just through walking through the campus. That's what I felt about it. I've been through campuses where we have enhanced student life in villages and so forth that can be terrific. Since I've been provost at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, we closed 2 city streets and created a huge quad. It is 4 blocks in size. We ringed that quad with a 150,000 square foot rec center that is magnificent, and it brings people from all over campus together. We built a 120,000 square foot academic building. We built a brand new dining facility and a new residence hall through a public-private partnership, an imaginative way to fund things. And I know the impact that can have in bringing a campus together. Space means a lot, and the environment you're in means a lot. And I would hope that when I finish my job here, there'd be recognition that we made progress in that area.
Okay. The openness of Maxwell Place has made students feel comfortable on campus and makes the president feel accessible. Will you maintain the open feel of the president's home and allow students to walk through?
Yes.
Next up. Is that all?
Excuse me?
Is that all? I didn't want to
That's
cut you
it.
off there.
My wife and I did notice it. I mean, what was kind of thrilling to me is the opportunity to, walk to your office and encounter students and to look out your window and see students. And, the one thing we hadn't told the search committee, though, we have a 9-month-old puppy. And I don't know how she's going to work out. We're going to have to put her through some extra training to make sure she is respectful of the Maxwell House and the grounds. But we just thought, how delightful it's going to be to stroll this campus and see people and interact. And so we feel very comfortable about it.
Great. Next up, could you please briefly share with us at least some of the initiatives implemented at UAB on diversity and how successful it has been so far? Did it embrace the community as well as the campus? Can't read the last part, it's cursive.
Okay. Great. I know lots of universities say this, and I've been proud to live it during my life at UAB, and it is a core value and strength for us. And in Alabama, we have a past that reminds us every day of how important we have to dedicate, how important it is to dedicate your attention to this. When I started as provost 9 years ago, we decided to work with the K through 12 system and tell them that we were going to raise the academic standards and the level of preparedness for students across the state who wanted to apply to UAB. Some people thought that was going to negatively impact the diversity on our campus. It hasn't. We have rich diversity, and we've also taken steps to have community groups, our student organizations that promote that diversity, a growing Hispanic population, and certainly an African American population. One of the things we did in the past year is a B-Men program. It is a program designed to take African American males in their first year of school and with great mentorship and using role models, work to guarantee their success. And over the last 2 years, I think the first-year retention rates of those students have surpassed any group on campus. So that has been very important to us, and that's the life we know there. When I walked through campus, I should have said this, I said it earlier. One of the things I liked about what I saw here was the mosaic of color and class and culture. I think that's the environment you should learn in and we should provide for students. So any ways we can enhance that, we'll work to do so.
Great. This is one submitted on the website or via email. Do you see President Todd's top 20 goal as attainable, and how will you work to achieve it?
I'm going to say that I've lived and worked in Alabama all my life, with the exception of those 4 years in Boston, and I wasn't looking for a job at all. But when I got called by the search firm and they sent me some materials and I saw the top 20 plan that was in there, it made me think of the culture I live in Birmingham. When I first went to UAB, when I was a little younger than those of you who are in this room, we were 15 city blocks. We had a medical school, a dental school, and a debt-ridden hospital. And that was it. And I'm proud to say today we're 85 city blocks. We're a comprehensive university. We're the largest employer in the state. We have a $4.6 billion impact. And we're making a difference in the lives of not only our students, the patients we treat, and those we also serve in the community. And that top 20 plan signaled to me that you dream. When I went to Birmingham, we weren't yet a university then, and we were 15 city blocks. Later, when I went to dental school there, I met the first president of our university, Joe Volcker, and he used to always say, and he'd said it when we were 15 city blocks, we do Birmingham a great disservice if we dream too little dreams. And that plan represented to me big dreams. And I think it's important to dream. If people would have carefully looked at what we were dreaming about in Birmingham 40, 45 years ago, they would have thought it was folly. But here we are, we're closer in that top 20 in terms of NIH funding and all, and we started with practically nothing. So I've seen all that happen in my lifetime. So the top 20 plan may not happen in our lifetime, but I think it's important to keep those high aspirations and those high dreams. It moves you towards excellence. I think it's also important in a new environment to figure out how you may best get there and to make sure that some of the other things that are important to you as a university are accounted for and measured. And the other thing that attracted me to the plan and to this campus was your sense of accountability. We do the same thing. We have 6 goals. We have scorecards for each one of those. We have scorecards down at the school level. Every year the president and I meet with the dean of those schools to track their progress, see how they're doing, to make sure we stay on course. So accountability means a lot to me as well.
Okay. I think this gentleman wants to ask one at the mic.
Yes, sir.
Yes, hello. My name is Tristan, and I'm a physics major here. So you talked a lot about how UAB expanded and it helped out the city of Birmingham a lot. So I was wondering if you could expand on some ideas. I know you probably don't have any plans yet, but some ideas on how the University of Kentucky can help Lexington, Kentucky grow.
Let me say that I shouldn't say we helped Birmingham grow. I think together we helped each other grow. And that's the kind of partnership you have to have when you're a community and a university that live side by side and are so heavily integrated. Had lots of questions this morning about the fringes of the campus and how we start to encroach on neighborhoods, and are we the best when we do things like that. And I think you have to work closely with the city to make sure you respect the integrity of the town. But, you know, it's important to bring talent to a university. They have to be magnets for this creative generation like you and the creative talent that it's going to take to provide you the best education. And I think what I found here were some attractive features of the community. When I walked around downtown and had a great meal and listened to conversations, I saw you have an opera house. The youth symphony was performing in your Singletary Center. You know, those are the kinds of things that people value in life. Those are the amenities that matter. And you can only sort of get those in a city like this one.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next question is from Eli Edwards.
Eli.
The guy in the blue and the
All
guy
right.
in the blue tie and blue shirt.
Let me tell you what, I was Eli before Eli was cool. It was hard growing up. It was hard growing up being an Eli in the class, but, you know, I think Eli Manning changed all that. You know? And you, excuse me. Go ahead.
When looking at your provost website for the University of Alabama at Birmingham, headline that caught my eye was Office of the President, restructuring with focus on students' faculty success. I really like the positions you appointed to ensure that students and staff were given the focus that they deserve. Do you have any plans to make the University of Kentucky more student and staff-centered? And if so, could you please elaborate?
Well, you know, what I understood after careful study at my university was appropriate for what needed to be done there. And all I can tell you is I'm committed to student support and student services. I'm willing to make changes if things aren't what they should be, but I couldn't tell you today or assess the level of services you receive. I hope you understand that, but I'm always willing to look at those things.
Next up, as a center of, if anybody would like to come down to the microphone, we'll be sure to call on you during the next question. As a centerpiece to our university, how are you going to bring more attention to the smaller programs of the university, such as the arts?
I think I mentioned earlier how important those are to the vibrancy of a community and to a university. I told folks earlier that I was invited to go to Eastlake, Georgia by a philanthropist in Birmingham who wants to create a success story in turning around a community in Birmingham that, like Eastlake, was sort of drug-infested, crime-ridden, high levels of unemployment. And as you sort of look at the opportunities you have in communities like that and things that you can do in bringing people together, at that school that they have rebuilt in Eastlake, they did something that I thought was most important. All of you have heard about the emphasis in this country on the STEM disciplines: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Well, that school had a focus on STEAM, and they introduced A for the arts. They think it's important for those kids not only to be technically sort of prepared for a life, but it's important to understand how to reach inside yourself and define yourself, express yourself to others, which is so important through a process that involves the arts, and the humanities. Anything I can do to expand those opportunities, because I think it is exactly what you need in a complete education.
Okay. This one's from Misty Dotson, a staff member and a student. What is your ideal goal for moving into more online-based courses and entire degree programs, moving towards a more non-traditional student body?
So we've looked carefully at all these things, and we're moving on several fronts, and this is sort of my understanding. One of the fastest growing markets in education today, probably the fastest, is online learning. So you got to pay attention to it. And it sometimes reaches a different population. It can be good for students who are living on campus, but fully online programs, people are really paying for convenience, and a lot of those programs compete not on price but on convenience. They're pretty expensive. We've had some full-fledged programs on our campus that have been quite successful for years. Nursing, as I'm sure it is here, I haven't checked, that is the nature of nursing education today. A lot of online programs for the master's level work. Surprising for a professional, clinically oriented program. That's what's happened there. We see opportunity in other areas, and it's organized a little differently. Now, what we've decided to do is work with an external organization, Compass Knowledge. We outsource all the backroom parts of distance education so that the faculty member can focus on the pedagogy in the classroom and get support on how you use this new technology to educate people. So that's a whole different area that I think is worth exploring. 2 weeks ago, I invited to my campus the CEO of UMass Online. That covers the 5 universities in the University of Massachusetts system. I think they have 54,000 course offerings and 20,000 different students who participate in that. And 7 years ago, they had hardly any program. So I think there are lots of people out there that is the way they need to access education. You need to think about that. You can look at the University of Central Florida that had tremendous growth on their campus. And they couldn't build the buildings fast enough to get people through the core curriculum and all. And they used distance learning for students on the traditional campus to get folks through. And they did some things to make sure that that education was as good or better than what you could get in the classroom. So I think it's an area that has to be examined. It's a way that, in some circumstances, can keep your capital costs down.
Great. We have about 12 minutes left and 6 questions. Oh, he's got one here for you.
Hi there.
Hello.
My name is Chris Goodale. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I just have a quick question. What specific role do you see student affairs, and in particular student involvement, playing in the role of a student's university education?
I think that your education cannot be complete by just a classroom experience. And so to complete that education, I think you need a variety of student life and student support activities to enrich your experiences. If you haven't visited other campuses, you can look at a lot of them and you won't find a center as nice as your Stuckert Center to support students. I think there need to be other ways, and I just sort of felt walking through campus that you have a rich environment. But anything I need to know to better improve those experiences that you can have outside of the classroom. On our scorecard, we count the number of internships, service projects, our revamp of our core curriculum focused on oral and written communication, quantitative literacy, and ethics and civic responsibility. We tried to introduce into the classroom experiences that supported the thrust of our undergraduate education.
Thank you.
That was actually going to be the next question, so we got one off the
Now we're
list
down
there.
to 4.
Something like that.
Okay.
Next up, college athletics is obviously, and this one was submitted online, college athletics is obviously a very important aspect of many universities, and here at UK, college basketball is life for many throughout the state. What is your experience and approach, general approach to college athletics?
Sure, I'm going to confess I'm a fan, you know. I like college sports. I attend all the basketball and football games at our university. This better be the last time I say this. I got introduced into the Blue Nation, in Columbus, Ohio, in I think 2004 when Kentucky came in as the #1 seed and my little UAB upset Kentucky. So, you know, it was powerful, and I sort of looked at that crowd and that commitment and that enthusiasm with envy. We were there with a small group of fans. I know how that kind of experience can build allegiances and commitment and community in powerful ways. I think it's important that you maintain high academic standards and integrity in athletic programs. And I also know there's a benefit you have that very few college athletic programs have across this country. There are only a handful that are self-sufficient. I'm at a university where, we're in the bottom 25% in terms of what we can spend on athletics, and we have to support it quite heavily. You have a program that, through its successes, is able not only to support what it does for your major sports, but what have been the most powerful experiences for me is to see all those other sports that can be supported through the successes of basketball and football, especially all your women's programs. That, to me, is another marvelous example of how you have an out-of-the-classroom experience that builds character and discipline and so forth. So I view that as a great opportunity. I also know that it can help recruit students. People like that experience. And I think you need to look for ways that you can sort of leverage that powerful tool in your toolbox to mean even greater things for the university.
Great. Next up, what is your opinion on how to increase freshman retention rates? This was a major concern for Dr. Todd, and since I'm involved in programs to help increase those rates, I want to know how you would work on these rates.
Sure. So I've noticed your war on attrition, it's called, and I think you're using some of the best practices in the country to tackle these matters. This has been a struggle for us too. Our campus, I think about, a high percentage, I can't remember my numbers today, but I mean an overwhelming percentage of our students work, and a pretty incredible percentage of our students work more than 20 and 30 hours a week. So I know they face financial challenges and personal challenges to get through school. I think it's important to have a strong advising network. I think some of the degree path programs that you have are important so that students who oftentimes change programs and all don't have to get back in a long line of required courses to get through and get their college degree. I think early alert systems are important when students are in trouble, that you can get there before it's too late. Those are a sample of some of the things. You make some good strides. We too went from the low 70s or something like that percent retention of our first year class to over 81, 82%. And increasing your absolute percentage points like that is a heavy lift nowadays. Last night when I went to the Hyatt Hotel, I stayed there last week and I didn't get as much attention as I got there last night. But someone who worked at the hotel came out to meet me. His name was Rob. And he said, I'm a graduate of the University of Kentucky. I want to welcome you here. It took me 7 years to get through school. And I said, I said, and you made it? He said, yep. And I came out debt-free. So I stopped and worked along the way and all. And that's an important lesson for all of us to realize, what it takes to get through. And the path is a little different for everybody. And having programs that can individually address students' needs are important.
Great. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Ben Norton. You mentioned in your current position you're working with a program that received a grant from ExxonMobil. I was wondering that as the next potential president here at UK, what are your opinions on corporate influence at the university?
Well, tell me what your concerns are about corporate influence.
A lot of people are of the opinion that corporate influence, corporate influence is usually, all right, let me start over. According to some people, corporate influence is a very good thing because it provides another source of funding. However, they are sometimes kind of obligated to make decisions that reflect what may be beneficial, again, to the people that provided them the funding. So in general, it doesn't need to be a very specific answer, but in general, do you think this is a good thing at the university, or?
So first of all, this program is not a grant to my university, but a board that was set up independent of the university.
I understand that.
ExxonMobil makes a grant to an agency that's independent of this so that the assessment of the progress on that program is really independent of ExxonMobil. But that's an example of what you have to have, the integrity in the assessment system to make sure these influences that you talked about aren't manifest. So this is what universities are going through today, because it is the case as research and development dollars across the country have leveled off at the federal level. Drug companies, for instance, nowadays are turning to universities as partners for research and development. And what we're doing at our campus, we're in the process of finalizing this policy. We have an institutional conflict of interest policy to make sure that just the things you talked about don't happen at the institutional level. And we also do the same thing at the individual faculty member level, because they're out there in an entrepreneurial way, and we have to make sure that their fine lines separate the integrity of the research and the source of the revenues.
Would you consider implementing a similar system here at the university?
Well, I would assume that you probably have some institutional conflict of interest policies, or you're working on them. These are becoming standard across universities. And I know anybody who receives any federal funding at the individual investigator level has to comply with federal regulations about conflict of interest. That's why we have CRB, conflict of interest relations boards that review these things. And sometimes when you have conflicts and you have them, they have to be managed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I think we probably needed another half an hour or so, but
I hope I get
I'll be
the
sure and give
chance
them
for
your cell
another
phone
half
number
hour.
so they can give you a call.
Oh, that's good. I need friends like you. That's good.
Yes, yes,
Sure.
ma'am. Sorry, I didn't see you coming down. I would have given you the opportunity.
Good afternoon. It's
Good
delightful
afternoon.
to meet you. My name is Mildred Bailey. I'm the director of the Governor's Minority College Awareness Program here at the university,
Yes.
and it is a pipeline program. And I wanted to ask you if you could speak to pipeline programs at UAB and the involvement of the schools and colleges with the pipeline programs, and tell us about your feeling about that and where you hope to go with that at the University of Kentucky.
Okay. Well, I'm proud this week, thanks to working with people like you, and in my case, it's our Vice President for Equity and Diversity, Lewis Dale, who over his career has received in excess of $30 million in NSF support to bring students to our campus and others. He informed me this week that I'm co-investigator on this, that we got another $4 million award. So I think we have a tremendous track record in this area. NSF is starting to change the way it funds and directs these dollars, and I think universities are going to have to take a look at that. But I think we have a good track record on that, but I couldn't do it without people like Dr. Dale, and we couldn't do it here with people without people like you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You all good? I think that is the conclusion of today's forum. Dr. Capilouto, we just ask if you have any closing comments to make before we close for the day.
No, I know many of you are in the midst of exams. I wish you the best on those, and I thank you for taking time out of what I know is a busy week to share your thoughts and ideas, and I hope I have the opportunity to extend our conversation. Good luck to you. Thank you.